The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod. We're webcasting to you live from the Center for Autism and Related Disorders headquarters in Tarzana, California. It's Wednesday, and Wednesday is a very exciting day here. We're going to start out with Ask Dr. Doreen. Dr. Doreen Grampachet will be here answering your questions live in the studio. And then during Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy, normally my co-host is Nancy Allspaw-Jackson. Unfortunately, she's under the weather today and won't be joining us. But because it is the second day of the Festival of Toys, we have some exciting guests for you. We have a representative from Uncle Milton Toys who's going to be here and show us an array of toys and talk to us about why they're so uniquely fabulous for our kids on the spectrum. If you're not familiar with Uncle Milton Toys, you're not going to want to miss this. My house is full of Uncle Milton Toys, great toys. And then during the second half of the hour, as if Uncle Milton wasn't exciting enough, we have a representative from LeapFrog who's going to be with us and show us some amazing toys. I've got some of them on the desk here that are truly amazing. We're going to be giving away one of these today. This is a LeapPad Ultra. So during this first hour, let's talk a little bit about how the holiday giveaway goes and the toy festival. Every hour from now to December 20th that we are live, we are going to give something away to a viewer. And here is how you participate. I'll tell you at the start of the hour what the gift is that we're giving away. During this hour with Ask Dr. Doreen, we are giving away another 6-month subscription to Skills. An amazing, amazing gift to give yourself and to give your child. So that will be during this hour. In the second hour, we're going to be giving away one of these, and we're also going to be giving away a wall friend from Uncle Milton Toys. You'll see those in the next hour. Now, this is what you need to do to be able to enter. Sometime during the hour, Emily will project onto the screen a word or a phrase. You will want to write to us. Emily's going to put that email address up for you right now. In the subject line, you are going to put the name of the item that you're hoping to win. And then in the body of the email, you will put the phrase or the word that was projected on the screen during the hour that that item was given away. You have until 7 a.m. Pacific time of the following day to enter. We will choose one correct answer at random, and that person will win that item, and we'll get it off to you. Sometimes they're emailable and sometimes they'll be shipped off, but we have some really, my office looks like Santaland exploded. So we have some amazing gifts to be giving out. Again, that is all the way through December 20th. Every hour that we're live, we'll give something away. And again, we'll be demoing this a little bit later on for you to see, and there'll be a wall friend from Uncle Milton Toys. You're going to love that. But this hour, it is a 6-month subscription to Skills. What a fabulous, fabulous gift. Also, we encourage any and all participation in the show. The whole show is meant to be interactive. We hope that you will participate. And Emily's going to show you some of the different ways that you can participate, while I remind you that one way to watch us live and participate is to go to www.autism-live.com. When you go there, you see a computer screen. You can click on the little play arrow, and you can watch either the live show or the most recently recorded live show. You also have the ability now on that same site to cycle through and pick one of the recent shows that if you'd like to watch it. And next to that computer screen is a long, skinny white box. That's your opportunity. Put your cursor there, type away, hit enter, and whatever you want to be adding to the show, whether it's a question for Dr. Doreen Grampichet or a suggestion for a topic or a question for one of our toy manufacturers, it will appear on the screen. There is a slight lag, so make sure that you ask your questions early so that we have an opportunity to get them in for our experts. It's totally free. You don't have to log in. No one knows your information. In fact, if you want us to get back to you about something, you will need to include some sort of contact information so we can get back, but we can edit that out before we show it to the audience at home. I hope you will participate, and please share with all your friends and associates about this holiday giveaway because it's very exciting. All right. As I mentioned, we're going to start out with our fabulous guest that joins us on Wednesday mornings, Dr. Doreen Grampichet. So it is time for Ask Dr. Doreen.
Dr. Doreen Grampichet is the
Dr. Doreen is an expert in autism.
Doreen Grampichet.
Dr. Grampichet.
Dr. Doreen Grampichet.
Dr. Doreen Grampichet is a visionary in the field of autism, and now you get to ask her questions on Ask Dr. Doreen. Welcome to Ask Dr. Doreen. This is when we ask questions of our fabulous guest, Dr. Doreen Grampichet. Thank you for being here and welcome.
Pleasure. Good morning.
Good morning. And we hope that you guys will take this opportunity because Dr. Doreen Grampichet is a true expert in the field of autism.
Thank you, Shannon.
And as I always say, a visionary in the field of autism because
You're very kind.
You not only see what needs to be done now, but I know from many conversations with you, you have a view of what needs to happen for all of our kids in order for us to progress in this community. And I just want you to know how much I appreciate you on a daily basis.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You know, in this month when we try more than ever to remember to be grateful, you're always at the top of my list
Thank
of
you
things
so
to be
much.
grateful for.
Thank you so much.
So as I'm going to get all verklempt here. We don't need to do that
Me
3
too.
seconds into the show. In any case, we welcome all of your questions. You can be asking them, but we always remind you at the top of the show that no one on the show can give child-specific advice. And there are very good reasons for that, right, Dr. Grampichet?
Right. Yeah. We just don't want to, give advice that might not pertain to the child that we're referring to. So we just want to caution our viewers that we will most likely just give you some guidance, and much of the time the guidance that we're giving has to do with how to see a professional or what type of help you need, but it shouldn't be taken as very, very specific advice because we just don't have the opportunity to know the children that we're talking about here in great enough detail.
Absolutely. And honestly, I think it's remarkable that you point that out because we're always asking for everyone to look at our children as individuals.
Right.
And so, you're reminding us that you need to, and that this
Absolutely.
forum will not allow to give that child-specific advice.
Right.
But this entire week, we're focusing on toys.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are going to go shopping next week, we know. I have plans to go shopping next week.
Oh,
and
gosh.
in this economy, we want to stretch our dollars a little bit further
Sure.
and make sure that we get toys that enrich and build skills. And so we specifically asked our audience if they had questions about toys. I know that one of the people on our live feature wanted to know, do you have a favorite toy that you like to use working with very small children? Is there something in particular?
Well, I mean, developmentally, our kids have different interests at different ages. Actually, our entire play curriculum is organized in a way that kind of goes with the age of development. And when you have younger kids, a lot of the time they're very interested in just what we call cause and effect toys. Mm-hmm. So toys that you can press something or move a button or whatever, and the toy will light up or will make some sort of music or something. And as the child ages a little bit, then children tend to get more interested in constructive toys, so things that allow you to produce something like art and crafts types toys or those types of things, and or Legos, things that you can use to build. And then it isn't until, and this will vary a great deal, but it's, past the age of, I think, 3 or so where we start to actually get into pretend type activity and pretend play toys. And I think that tends to be one of the areas that our kids are very deficient in, is just imagination and pretend. And so I think it benefits a lot of our kids if parents try to get them things that have to do with dressing up or, becoming part of a character, puppets, that type of thing are useful toys that can help in a lot of different instructional things. I do want to say that generally for parents, you should be careful not to if you're buying toys that are have what we call self-stimulatory toys, toys that have the propensity to encourage the child to just self-stimulate and not socialize, that you might want to stay away from those toys, because a lot of times our kids tend to become a little bit more intrinsic and don't interact, and they just repeatedly will do something with a toy that allows them to just self-stimulate in that fashion. And toys that promote social behavior are probably a little bit more useful. We have right now, and I don't know how far we've developed this, but on iTunes, on the iTunes library, we have our store. We have what's called Camp Discovery, and this is sort of the beginning of us trying to develop games and applications for kids. And so these are very basic, just sort of, drag and drop labeling type games for the very young, very, very young kids. But the reason we've developed these, and they're free right now, so I would encourage people to get those for their kids as well. But the reason that we did this is because, or what makes these games different from other online types of activities, is that all of the procedures behind discrete trial are kind of programmed in, so that the child will receive a stimulus and then distractors and then additional target stimuli, and the rotation and the presentation of the stimuli and what you see on the screen is kind of similar to how a therapist would present things in that order, or in that 7-step series that we do during discrete trial. So that might be useful, and as I said, it is free. I know it is a difficult time. I mean, first of all, I think during the holidays we also, not only do we want to go all out for our kids and buy tons and tons of things, but also it's the time where our kids start to take in massive amounts of sugar, which is also something to be careful about right now.
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
And with the sugar comes all the artificial colors too, and a lot of times kids will have one color in particular that it doesn't sit well. Certainly not all kids, but some kids that'll happen.
Right.
So things to be watching out for.
Our Claudia, who is our main receptionist for cards, she put together a really good list for Halloween, which was a list of all the candy that is less harmful, let's put it that way. And it's gluten-free stuff and casein-free stuff, and she listed it as a huge list, and she says which companies and so on, and we should probably put that up somewhere for our viewers.
We'd love to have that on our Facebook.
Yeah, it was a really good list.
I know that those companies then we can continue to use it at holiday time. Remarkable. And sort of keeping what somebody wrote in on Facebook and said, and I don't know whether they're looking for a toy or just help for, but you mentioned social things. They're wanting help for young teens with emotional health problems connected with autism and occurring alongside OCD and ADHD. So I don't know that we necessarily need to keep it in the context of toys because we're talking about teens, but what kind of support would you advocate for?
Yeah, I'm happy that next week, I think it's
next week, and thank you for reminding me.
Sure, we're doing a program. Our show will be completely about anxiety, and of course OCD is very much related to anxiety. It is one of the toughest things. It's not something at all that it possibly could increase during the holidays, but it is a very difficult subject, and There's too many factors involved where I could give any kind of decent answer here that would be helpful, but I do really suggest that if you have a teen who has anxiety or obsessive compulsive behavior, which is sort of an indication of anxiety, that you do get professional help, because in a lot of situations our teens we kind of overlook the anxiety or the OCD because it's not as bad as just pure autism or, let's say, other things that we've dealt with our kids, but it is, and it will get worse. It's pretty important to pay attention to symptoms of anxiety and to obsessive compulsive behaviors, because they tend to actually get worse and turn into depression after a while, or even simultaneously.
Yeah.
So, and there are really, I mean, you can, depending on the level of the child, you can get a lot of help for the child. A lot of times I feel for our adolescents, it's just teaching our adolescents to understand certain things. They misunderstand because of the social deficit or the problems they have in reading social cues. They tend to misunderstand, and they tend to see things as being intentional, or they feel more lonely than they should, or they don't really understand that everything's fine. They kind of misinterpret social things, and once we teach them to interpret those things more properly, it helps them, but not always, because sometimes they're just going through typical teen stuff. I mean, and a lot of teenagers go through a phase that's very difficult due to performance anxiety, or am I good enough? And as you can imagine, that's even more perpetuated with our teens.
Sure.
I see that happening with our kids as they become more and more aware. They're very concerned about fitting in, and that is what leads to a lot of anxiety and depression, I think.
Absolutely. So a lot of things to think about, and we're going to talk more about that next Wednesday.
Yes.
That entire show next Wednesday about anxiety, and you guys can start sending in questions. We've got a great question about helping toys and things to put in a room, to put on the wall to help a 10-year-old go to sleep. We're going to take a break and we'll come back and talk about that. And our guest in the next hour, Uncle Milton, is actually, they specialize in this. So you're going to love that. So stick with us.
Hello, fellow activists. In our last segment, we talked about step number 2, educate yourself. Step number 3 is get support. Now, any journey can feel overwhelming if you feel like you're walking it alone. Well, you're far from alone, because with 1 in 50 kids diagnosed with autism today, there are a lot of us out there. Of course, there's always the issue of financial support. Now, there's a handful of organizations out there that offer financial support to families in need. ACT Today, or Autism Care and Treatment Today, is one of them. Visit our website at www.act-today.org to find out more about our grant process. I want to talk about a different kind of support today, emotional support. Now, you can get that from other travelers on this path. Some of the best advice I've ever received is from the moms of other kids with autism who went to school with Wyatt or were involved with programs with him. Then there are the pioneers. These are the families that have gone through this years ago, and there was very little information out there. All of these people seem to have the desire to pay it forward. Now, one of them, Lisa Ackerman, who is one of my mentors, started an organization called TACA, Talk About Curing Autism. She actually took the concept of mentors and support groups and made it available to everybody. You can go to their website, talkaboutcuringautism.org, to find out more. During the first and most difficult year after Wyatt's diagnosis, I wrote an email to close family and friends, letting them know what was going on and the challenges our family was facing, and why we dropped out of sight. I was amazed at the outpouring of love and affection and all the help I received from that email. First, you have to be vulnerable. You can't be afraid to ask. Try this out. Could you cook me a meal? Are you going to the market? Can you pick me up a few things? Could your kids play with my kid and make them feel included? Or can you come over and clean my house? Well, maybe not that last one, except with your best friend. And maybe the best support of all is having someone that listens, and that doesn't cost a dime. So until next time, surround yourself with the loving kindness of others and keep the faith.
Something about treating with
You're live.
Oh, hello. I'm reading a question in French. Apparently my earpiece isn't working. But welcome back to Autism Live. I love this. This is my very first question in French, and I'm very excited about it. I know just enough French to get myself in trouble, as you probably just heard. Okay, we wanted to start with a question that came in on our Facebook. I love it when you guys write in questions on the live feature in Facebook. Somebody wants to know, what can I put in a 10-year-old's room to help sleep easier for sensory, like lighted decorative rope, sand, water, and I have a curtain to help with light, but what else? I mentioned that we're going to have a guest in the next hour that sort of specializes in this, and during the break I was saying what we had put in Jem's room, which is something that came out from Uncle Milton, and you were saying that it's a product that you're very familiar with.
Yeah,
and
my
your
son had it as well, right?
It's called the Moon in My Room.
Right, it's really, it's a circle, and it changes over the sequence of moon phases, so it's a half moon and then becomes gradually a full moon, and you can control it with a remote control, and it's something that kids like very much, so it helps them stay in their room. I'm not sure if it helps with sleep, because the bigger thing with sleep is that, you know, one of the most influential factors on sleep is just light. Anything that produces light can interrupt sleep. And so the thing I like about this product is that when you go to just a very partial moon, it has very little light, and that was very helpful for my son when he was growing up. There are a lot of products right now that are just, for instance, one thing you might want to consider is, I had done this also for my kids, was I had gotten those stars that glow in the dark, and I had put it all over their ceiling, and so during the day they would get enough light that at night when I turned off the lights, you could see them, but they wouldn't be so much that they disturb your sleep, and they would gradually fade away, but they were there for at least an hour after dark, and they were beautiful, you know, so my kids were really looking forward to having the lights turned off so they could see the stars. That's one thing. Music, of course, is something that really, really helps with sleep. So talking about sensory and how to calm children down. Again, this has a lot to do with the level of the child, level of functioning of the child. There is an application, I don't remember the name of it exactly, but basically you bring it up on your iPhone and you put your iPhone under the mattress, and it will feel movements, and when you have movements it will gently start to play a little music.
Oh, love that.
So that it kind of helps the child go, you know, calm down again, those types of things. There's so much stuff right now for sleep, And
honestly, in the next hour when Uncle Milton comes in, as we mentioned, the Moon in My Room, but for younger kids now, we're gonna give away one of the wall friends. They come in different characters.
That's awesome.
It's like the Moon in My Room, that it goes into the wall, but it has different modes of light so that it gets dimmer. And it actually, with the remote, they can have it talk to them and play some music.
That's awesome.
So it's incredible.
And also, Shannon, I have to say that a lot of our kids do, so if you kind of put pillows around the child and try to make them feel very, I don't know, cozy, or, you know, like put the pillows very close to the child, it influences their sleep, because maybe they feel a little bit more secure. And smell, the sense of smell tends to also, that's why a lot of people like candles. Obviously candles are not really safe for our kids, but there are these little things that give off scent. I don't know. You know,
they have flameless candles now too.
Oh, that's true. No, but these are the ones that you plug in and they smell really good. And certain scents can be conditioned to relaxation, and I think that's also very helpful for sleep.
Very cool. And I just realized, sitting next to me, I have Read With Me Violet, and we have Read With Me Scout too. That we're going to be talking about this with LeapFrog. Now, this is obviously for the younger kids. This child is 11 that you asked the question about, but this has a whole mode that it reads books with the child, and then you put it on the sleep mode, and so that it just plays lullabies for a set period of time, and then shuts off.
Oh my God.
And all the interactions active portions of it when it's on sleep mode
That's
won't happen,
fabulous.
so that the child can cuddle it and it won't start talking to them.
I should get one of those for one of our supervisors who just had a baby. That's awesome. The things that are out
this
now.
thing is absolutely. I'm not going to trigger it because it has all these little things and it will play all these little tunes, and we're going to
That's
wait and talk
awesome.
about that with LeapFrog when they're here in the next hour. Okay, I wanted to go to a question about skills, because as you know, we're giving away a skills subscription in this hour. For Dr. Doreen, I'm currently a skills user and I'm loving it. I have currently worked out about 27 hours per week of therapy with my child. My question is, what amount of hours, how many programs should I be doing at one time? My child is very quick learner and is running through programs quite well.
Great.
I'm currently focusing on language, social, and motor. I've just started peeking into the play lessons because I know that is important. My child is in kindergarten and I feel like I need to also tackle academics as well, but I'm unsure of how much we, in capital letters, can handle. His teachers are concerned mainly when it comes to him being able to answer WH questions when a story is involved, which goes beyond me simply asking, what is this? It seems like the kindergarten curriculum has changed as they are learning about many abstract things my child just isn't ready for. Any advice you can give is so appreciated. Thank you. Great question.
Yeah, great question, and thank you for writing in, because it makes me feel so good that there are parents that are using skills and that it's useful to them. So a few things. I'm assuming if your child's in kindergarten or about to go into kindergarten, we're talking your child's age is somewhere around 4, maybe 5, and you definitely should be doing some work in the language curriculum. I don't know if you noted did they say
They said language, social, and motor,
Great.
and just starting to dip into play.
So you will want to do a lot of, so your focus with about, let's assume you have somewhere around 27 hours that's over the course of the week, let's say about 25 hours, even a couple hours for you to review and stuff. And so you're talking about, if we try to go 5 days a week, you're talking about if we go, 4 or 5 hours a day is what you have. I would do sessions that are approximately no longer than 2 hours in length each. So I would do 2 hours, then a break, 2 hours, or something like that, or an hour and a half, then an hour break. So typically, like, you'd want to go, let's say 9 to 10:30, and then, or if you have school, then a lot of this sort of stuff would be happening after school. But you do it about an hour and a half session, and then you'll have about an hour off, or an hour and a half off, and then you'll come back and do another hour and a half. So you kind of sort of want to fill the day that way. And in about 25 hours, you should be able to do a pretty decent full program, which means that you will have maybe one motor program, one play program, probably 3 or 4 language programs, 1 or 2 social. If you are beginning to get worried about academic, you could add an academic, although your child is pretty young. The program that you talked about, the WH, is in reading comprehension or listening comprehension. And I think listening comprehension, it would be it's either an academic or social. I'm not sure where it is.
I think it's an academic.
Is it an
I'm
academic?
pretty sure it's an academic.
Right, and that lesson is there, so that can guide you through that, but it does have the prerequisite of the basic WHs, yes. And then you would want to answer the questions for the EF cognition curricula areas so that you can see if your child has some deficits there and you want to start working on those. Yes, play, of course, you should have, as I said, 1. The key, when you go through the first few years of intervention at about 25 hours, you're always going to be heavier on language and social than anything else. Some of our kids have more of a deficit in other areas, and then we want to try to catch them up. Obviously, you're going to want to do maybe 1 program or 2 from adaptive as well, and that really just has to do with your child's abilities. I assume the child's already, for instance, potty trained. That becomes very important. But and you'll see as you start going into some of the adaptive stuff that it'll also help with when your child is actually having to get up, get dressed, get ready, brush teeth, all that sort of stuff comes in as well. but really, the more you focus right now on language and social, I think those are the two areas that your child's going to benefit from. And then, of course, academic. We want our kids to do well when they start kindergarten. And then, you know, for academic, there's a lot of other stuff out there. If your child has free time and they want to play, I would really recommend that you do go on let's say, iTunes store, look at some apps that are out there. There's a lot that your child can do just to learn. Like a lot of these games will teach you basic academic stuff as well. There's a lot out there.
Yeah, in fact, you know, I don't want to give it away because we're going to demo this later, but this comes with 5 books, and it reads the book to your child, and it asks a question at the end of every page.
See, that's perfect. That's perfect. And a lot of the LeapFrog actually do that. The LeapFrog programs all do that. Yeah, they are really brilliant. Yeah, they're very, very good.
Yeah, really
So
remarkable.
those things will be very helpful. I mean, you know, LeapFrog has done so much with teaching our kids. They really have fabulous products for this type of thing. And yeah, but, you know, I'm so glad to hear that this parent is enjoying skills and going forward this way.
And I wonder if they realize that the Camp Discovery app that Dr. Grandpichet was talking about earlier dovetails into skills that you can actually have, like in addition to your 27 hours that you're doing, you can have your child spending, like if you're cooking dinner and you want to get a little bit more time in, you can give the iPad or whatever to the child. The child can be playing on Camp Discovery, and if you put in your skills ID, it will track what their responses are as well into skills. It's kind of remarkable. So another benefit if you're using skills to be able to use Camp, you don't have to have a skills account to use Camp Discovery, but it will be compatible with it if you are. So pretty remarkable. It's an exciting time for a 5-year-old, and I think it's great that you're getting a lot of stuff done, and great question. Would you like to take a break, or are you ready for another?
Oh, I'm fine.
Okay. Hi, Dr. Doreen. I have an 11-year-old son with high-functioning autism. One of our issues is that when we take him anywhere, he will walk up to anyone and start talking to them. He will introduce himself with his full name, age, and where he goes to school. Then he will continue to start talking about whatever subject is on his mind at that moment. He usually targets adults, but not always. He has no concept of stranger danger. He has seen videos, done role modeling, been told repeatedly not to talk to strangers. Nothing seems to break through to make him understand. This is causing embarrassing moments and also terrible stress on us because we're afraid he's going to talk to the wrong person and be gone forever. Please help. Very serious question.
Yes, very serious and very well worded, because you basically went through and explained several different areas that all come together and produce this problem. To begin with, when we try to approach these situations and we don't break it apart and we just try to model for the child, we don't want you to talk to strangers, it doesn't really make sense to our kids, and they don't generalize it to all different situations, so they tend to do the same thing over and over. But you really defined well and divided all the different areas, and I'd like to go through your email again, because you listed several key things, and as you went through, I was like, okay, we have that program, we have that program, we have, and I truly recommend that you do go to Skills and you do get a subscription to Skills. It will guide you and be very helpful to you, because all of these areas are addressed there, and as we go through your email, I'll tell you exactly what they're called and where they are. So, Shannon, could you read that just again, the area, just...
So starting with, one of our issues is that when we take him anywhere, he will walk up to anyone and start
talking to strangers. That in itself there's a whole program, I think, called Levels of Friendship, and it takes you through and explains to the child through multiple steps. And none of these programs are a one-time thing. They're things that are multi-step, so there's several different levels to each of the programs that I'm about to mention. So this one, for instance, makes you understand that your behavior towards people is different based on who they are. And first, it helps you to identify if someone is a friend, a best friend, an acquaintance, a relation, a parent's friend, an adult that you have to respect, like a teacher or something, and it helps you learn how you behave differently with each one. So that's one aspect of that. The other aspect of it is actually having the appropriate conversational skills. So I think your child will go up and start talking to them. He'll start with telling them his full name and stuff that's not appropriate, right? So that is in the social curriculum, because it really does teach our kids how to what they look like and how much information you should actually present. And I think that's called greetings and salutations. Greetings and salutations. And that program will help your child understand what is an appropriate way to greet those different people. Now, talking about his own subject, I think, because he goes on and talks about what his favorite subject.
He will continue to start talking about whatever subject is on his mind at that moment.
Right. And that that shows that he has sort of a theory of mind deficit, or a cognitive deficit, social cognition deficit, which means he's not really thinking how people perceive him. He's not quite aware of their minds, their perceptions. So he doesn't have that kind of, embarrassment or ability to see that people would consider this odd, or would not be interested in his subject. Mm-hmm. And that all comes from the entire area of the program called cognition. Mm-hmm. And when you go into cognition, you'll see a whole ton of lessons and just multiple areas having to do with the deficit of perspective taking, understanding other people's perspectives. And in order for him to really understand that, and all of your whole problem has to do with his inability to see other people's perspectives. But in order to teach a child that, you really have to start with very basic things, like what is your sensory perspective, your visual perspective, what are the things you see and I see, and noticing that we have different visual perspectives, different things we hear. And then that goes on to different things we learn or believe or think, and then that gradually just takes you into how everybody's mind is separated, and then interests, and what our desires are, what our preferences are, what our interests are. These are individual lessons, and they all have multiple steps, and your child really needs to go into that, because I'm pretty sure that with an awareness of other people have their own minds and they have their own interests, he would probably be a little bit more cautious about the conversation and what he's throwing out at people. Now, having said, so that's another area. Then on top of that, there's a whole different area of social conversation in our social curriculum, which has to do with teaching all the kind of logistical issues with conversation, and they have to do with learning to look at other people's facial expressions, for instance, and understanding when someone is bored or thinking you're weird, or wanting to walk away, and how do you react to those situations, and how do you help maintain a conversation, how do you help repair it if the conversation gets cut off or goes somewhere else, how do you end appropriately, how do you start appropriately. All of these are within the social conversation lesson. So I named probably 6 or 7 areas of our curriculum, and they're all very, very big areas. So that's why you would really, really benefit if you go into skills. Yeah. This is the key to skills. It gives you all of these things, but it doesn't give them to you all at the same time. It's kind of, if you just go through and answer the questions in the index or the assessment area of skills, you'll see that it'll identify for you, of all the things I just named and hundreds more that are in skills, it'll tell you kind of which ones should be taught first and what order, so that by the time your child gets to the most complex, which is really how should I have a good conversation with my peers, they've already gotten all the building blocks to get there.
Yeah, it is.
Otherwise,
really
it's
amazing.
it's just too complex a skill to want to be able to teach a child through modeling. They have all these other things they need to know before that. So.
Yeah, really remarkable. And again, if you go to skills centerforautism.com. You can go there and you can do a trial. There are two different kinds of trials that you can do that I believe are 14 days. One where you get access to the whole program for 14 days. If you register with a credit card, on the 15th day it will charge your credit card if you don't cancel it. And if you don't want to do that, because some people don't want to give a credit card to look at something, there is another trial that you can do without a credit card for 14 days. It just doesn't give you access to everything, but it gives you a great ability to go in and look around and see what is there, to see exactly what Dr. Grandpichet is talking about. I use Skills at home, and I have found it to be the single greatest empowering tool that isn't in the body of a person for autism.
That's great.
So,
Well, new stuff's coming out soon too.
and I'm very
Skills
excited
book,
about that. So we're going to take a short break, and we're going to come back with more of Dr. Grandpichet answering your questions for Ask Dr. Doreen. Stick with us.
Hi guys, welcome back to Smarty. For November, we're going to be working on memory with our kids, and what better way than doing a scavenger hunt. The materials you'll be needing for this activity are a camera, cardstock, scissors, glue, and whatever objects you want your child to be hunting for. Step 1, you're the hunter. Find all the objects you want your child looking for and take photos of them. Now that you've collected all the objects you want your kids hunting for later, print out the images and then cut them out and glue them on a cardstock just so they're organized and isolated. Now that the scavenger hunt template is done, put all the objects back where they belong. Remember, we're working on memory, so put them in places that your kids would normally find them. You want them to be successful. We'll make this one really easy to find. Well, I hope you enjoyed this activity with your kids. Remember, the scavenger hunt is supposed to be a fun way to work on memory. Well, until next time, craft on, guys.
Can you see me flying by your side?
Welcome back to Autism Live and to Ask Dr. Doreen. We had our very first question come in French. It's very exciting to me. Dr. Grandpichet has looked at it, and she does not slaughter it like I do, but we'll give you the translation, which I believe is, how do you get an infant to take an object? An infant with autism.
Right, and bonjour, bienvenue for our French audience. That's very nice of you to join us. So there are, again, there's many different ways to teach taking an object or giving an object, and the easiest way, I mean, any book you take right now, any book that you purchase on ABA or applied behavior analysis will definitely guide you through the basic, it might be called receptive commands, it might be called object labels, some people will just call it give me, it could be, I mean, there are different names, but essentially this is the very easiest thing to teach. And even our Camp Discovery program on iTunes Library also does that. It doesn't help the child give, but it does help the child identify. And so giving is just a form of touching, or it's a response that we consider to be receptive because it doesn't involve language on behalf of the child. So what you do is you just present one object in front of the child, and you will tell the child to either give the object or touch the object, and you can prompt it, you can model it, and it's just one object, and you can model it from just having the child's hand and putting the child's hand on the object all the way to just looking at it, which is a very minimal prompt. Once the child has consistently learned to touch the object, then you will bring in another item, which is a distractor. And you won't label that item. So you will just put it on the table. So let's say we're teaching cup.
I've got an extra mouse.
And I'll have the child touch cup, or give cup. And after that, I'm bringing another object on the table, but I'm still asking for cup only. So I'll still say touch cup or give cup. And then I'll rotate the positions. So touch cup, and then the child will touch. And you want to make sure you're not prompting the child anymore. And once you've done that a few times, and you might even have another distractor, you don't necessarily have to, but you're still asking for cup, then you put cup away, and you'll bring a new object in. And this new object will now have a name again, so pen. And you'll start alone, and you'll do the same thing, so touch pen, and then you'll bring a distractor in again, an object that you're not naming. And you'll rotate that physically, and the child will give you pen. And then the true measure of learning is when you rotate, this is random rotation, the first two target objects that were taught. So that is cup now and pen, and so you'll present them together and you'll say touch pen or touch cup. And if the child gets it correct, wonderful, you're done. If the child doesn't get it correct, then you will go to various forms of prompting, perhaps put the object closer to the child. You might even go back to just presenting it with a distractor until you're able to rotate these two objects. Once you're able to rotate the first two target objects, then any object after that goes through the same procedure, and then the child starts to learn pretty rapidly. And that's the basic, very, very basic discrete trial formats for teaching objects. And you can start doing this very, very early on. We do it with really young children because sometimes it's just a matter of we don't even expect them to actually hand us the object. We just expect them to point to. And we're trying very early on to teach pointing. And of course, these programs are all in skills and in, I think at this point they'd be in the language curriculum and under object labels, I think. So it's very easy lessons and would probably be very helpful. Now, it's interesting because I've been thinking that that we're translating everything into Spanish right now, and God willing, we will someday get through skills as well because it's so massive. But I also do have a very dear friend who's French, and we're thinking about having her come here and spend a year or two just translating everything into French. So, I'm interested to see if we actually have more viewers and listeners who are French-speaking in any of the French-speaking countries.
Heaven knows they need some help in France with autism.
Everywhere, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. But I know, as we look at countries that are particularly behind the time in thinking about how to help autism, France is pretty behind the time.
Yeah, that's very true. It's absolutely right.
So,
it's true.
Really remarkable. And I have to say, too, as a parent, and as a former teacher, watching this idea of putting something in front of it and prompting and then doing the mass trial, as you call it, and then the random rotation, it seems ridiculous. It seems you go, no, that can't be the thing.
Why do you want to do all that?
That can't be the thing that works.
Right.
My child won't respond to that. That can't be the thing that works. I have thought that as a parent myself, and I've heard so many other parents say, clearly that's not going to work. Right. I had said, you're not going to be able to get my child to sit up to do that, and then I watched them make that happen through a series of different things that they did, and I am a true convert now, because what she just showed you very quickly is an amazing way to teach anyone anything. Yeah, it's something that we sort of put together, and it's not even really the people refer to discrete trial, and this is kind of the card version of discrete trial. We call it sort of the 7-step thing. You can do it faster in 3 steps or 5 steps, but we do it pretty generally because in this format because it really does work, Shannon, and it helps the child not get confused. We have to realize that a lot of times we put objects in front of our kids and we just, I remember many years ago, a couple of our senior supervisors did this training for our staff, and they were, when they were presenting instruction, and they wanted our staff to understand how difficult it is for the kids, and so they were placing objects in front and just saying blah 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 blah, and the truth is our kids might be hearing that.
And it's important to realize that they're not just learning new objects, they're learning a language. And so to be able to teach it to them this way is pretty important. It works, and it's clear, and it's concise, and it allows the child to go as fast as they like.
Absolutely. Now, somebody had written in a little bit further on the last question for the skills question from the other parent. They said therapist comes for 4 hours daily. Lessons are about 14 per session. What would perfect world scenario look like as far as breaks? Also, what is your best advice recommendation to make sure that therapists are doing what they're supposed to with your child? And they said, thank you for your time. We love you.
Oh, that's so awesome.
That is for you.
Could you read the first part first again?
And I want to make sure that I've got it in the right context. They're saying that further on the skills question from the other parent, and I'm guessing that they're saying that their therapist comes for 4 hours daily, that lessons are about 14 per session, and that they want to know what would the perfect world scenario look like as far as breaks. Also, what is your best advice recommendation to make sure that therapists are doing what they're supposed to with your child?
Right, so I'll try to, hopefully I got this straight. The therapist is coming 4 hours a day, and assuming it's 5 days a week, it's 20 hours. And a lot of times we're constrained by the therapist's schedules. So if you have a therapist that's coming 4 straight hours and you can't split them, so in other words, you can't have this is what we do, right? We have our therapist go 2 hours, and then another therapist goes 2 hours later for another 2-hour session. But you can't split them. That's perfectly fine, because what you could do is you could do an hour and a half of actual work, then the therapist can do more play type activity from skills for a half an hour, and then come back and do another hour and a half. Having said that, it just depends on your child's age as well and how difficult the lessons are. 14 lessons seems to be a good number for that type of session. It depends on what lessons they are. There's a really good balance when you have a good session going on, where you basically you just want to make sure your child's happy, they're not getting tired, they're not getting frustrated, they're kind of challenged yet enjoying it. Yeah. My mic keeps moving, sorry. And your therapist, 4 hours is a pretty long time, so you want to make sure your therapist isn't getting tired and so on. If you have one therapist, this is all you can do, and just go for it. But if you have two, I'd rotate them if possible, and have one therapist do mornings and one therapist do afternoons. That way you just kind of have more energy coming into it. How to evaluate if a therapist, I would videotape sessions. With our staff now, all of our staff have these iPads, because we have an internal program for inputting data on the iPads, and a lot of times we have the therapist just place the iPad so that the supervisors can just see on FaceTime what's going on. Wow. And so it's so easy these days to put an iPhone or an iPad up, and so you can see everything on FaceTime. Or you could just videotape the whole session and then probe it. You don't need to watch, obviously, 4 hours a day, but I would watch, segments here and there, 15, 20-minute segments here and there. That tends to keep therapists on their toes. I also would recommend that you continue to give refreshers to your therapist. Like, what we do is we have a weekly or every second week what we call clinic. And clinic is where the whole team gets together and shows what they've been doing. This is the most important thing. It's so important that a lot of our funding sources won't pay for it, because they don't want 3-4 therapists and a supervisor all in the same 2-hour time frame with the family, because they don't want to pay for 4 people at the same time. But we don't care. We kind of eat that card, and we just do it, because clinic is where the supervisor and the parent gets to see who knows what they're really doing. Otherwise, you could have therapists just kind of like putting in data that's not really accurate, or they could be just drifting off. One time I saw, I had asked the parent to videotape someone else's sessions. I was just doing an evaluation for the parent, and I saw that their therapist was literally balancing their checkbook while they were supposed to be doing therapy. I mean, there's a lot of stuff like that. So it's really important every week, if you can, to get together for just an hour or 2 hours, and have every therapist go through and demonstrate every lesson. You don't have, if you have 14 lessons, you could rotate them and just have one therapist do 7 and another therapist do 7, and you can see everything. That way you're sure that everyone's consistent and that they're doing actually what they're supposed to be doing. Your child's reaction to the therapist is what lets you know how involved that therapist is or how good they are. Because if a therapist has been sort of not really doing their job, your child's going to have a reaction, not a good reaction. If your therapist has really been diligent and working well, then your child's going to jump on board and just do great with the therapist at clinic. So clinic is really where things come to fruition, and everybody talks, and that's where you decide what the problems are, how to change lessons. Sometimes with our kids, they're not learning until we make things more visual, or various other things, and it's a very important part of treatment. So I think that would help a lot.
Yeah, our clinics were sacred to us. Nothing, and over the years, the time that it was and the day that it was changed, and the rest of the world knew that is immovable. We're not available to do anything else at that time because it's so powerful at charting the progress.
Right.
Absolutely essential. And I will say, too, that it was suggested to us by another family, a video monitor, a video baby monitor.
Yes.
And anybody who came into our home, we said, we're watching and listening in the other room. And I would love to lie to you and tell you that I listened to every moment and that I watched every moment, but that would be a lie, right? Across 5 years of therapy, but it was always playing in the background. And what I picked up while I was doing other work was so valuable in how I was with my son. It was the equivalent of going to graduate school for me.
It's so important for so many reasons. I think it's just a really valuable time to be able to watch some of that stuff. Yeah.
And I knew which therapist was a rock star, and I knew which therapist was doing a good job of maintaining skills.
Right.
And I, so that when the team shifted, I knew, like who was going to be good at this and who was going to be good at that, because every therapist has different skills.
Right.
And, I got to see how my son progressed and to carry what was happening in those sessions outside the sessions. It's so valuable. And I knew he was safe, too.
Exactly. Oh, yeah, that's very important, of course. And I always say I wouldn't do anything, I know that if I was to do a 4-hour session, I would be I wouldn't be as good in the last hour.
We call
I
it
would be
baked.
pretty tired.
You get baked.
Yeah.
You're done. You're just done.
Right.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't ask anybody else to do a 4-hour session. I just think, and we do have certain cases where they just need to have 4-hour sessions because the child is the rest of the child's time is blocked. But I don't like the 4-hour sessions. I'm trying to minimize them because I really do see performance dropping.
Sure.
Both the child and the therapist are just exhausted.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to get one more question in, but I don't think that we have time. Am I correct, Emily?
Go for it.
My earpiece isn't working at all.
Okay.
So there we have it. Okay. My son can't stand the sound of chewing or soft talking. What can be done about this? He goes into fits of anger and rage when he hears this.
When he hears chewing?
Chewing or soft talking.
Okay. Well, I would shape the behavior, so, and they're completely different behaviors, so let's just talk about chewing, I guess. And what I would do is probably, let's say, expose him to, a very, very minimal sound of chewing and then gradually increase that. You could do the same with soft talking. If you videotape someone talking at different decibels, so like very, very soft and very, very loud and everything in between, and then you gradually bring it down, your child will get used to it. And expose the child, obviously, at each level. But what would be more curious is to find out why your child can't tolerate that. Is it because he can't understand it? Is it because the sound really disturbs him? What is the reason? So I'm not sure of the level of functioning of the child. Perhaps you can try to investigate that a little bit more and see what's actually causing it, because that would be very important to find out anyway.
Okay, interesting. You guys have written in a lot more questions. Unfortunately, we're out of time, and I want to remind you that next Wednesday, the entire Ask Dr. Doreen is going to be devoted to anxiety issues, which will include a little bit of OCD.
Well, it'll be a lot about OCD because the OCD is sort of the portion that relates very much to autism. But I will explain more about how it's related to anxiety, of course.
Okay, and if you have specific questions about anxiety, you want to start writing those in during the week. We'll be reviewing them and picking specific ones. I know there's no possibility that we'll get through all of them,
I'll try
but
to
still write.
Right, and what I'll try to do is just present maybe a half an hour or something, 40 minutes maybe on the subject, and then leave at least maybe a half an hour for questions.
Okay, really important show talking about anxiety. That's next Wednesday during Ask Dr. Doreen. We thank you so much for being
Pleasure,
here and
always.
shedding
Very
so
nice
much
to
light.
be here. Thank you.
We are going to take a break and go to the A Word, the ongoing documentary being made here at the Center for Autism and Related Disorders following a little boy, Jack Riley, who was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2. And Jack is moving into his 3rd year of therapy at this point, and it's very exciting to see some of the things that he has going on, but it's a great example of why we need to be doing therapy for multiple years, why this is not a weekend intervention, because we're really getting job done here. So take a look at this, and when we come back, it's Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy, and we're starting with our first guest from Uncle Milton Toys. Very excited to show you some incredible products that we were just referencing that are going to help with bedtime. So stick with us.
I know a cute little blue-eyed boy, and his name is Jack. Jack Riley. He got a big, warm, blue-eyed soul that makes your heart beat fast. Exciting. I say Jack, Jack, Jack is my buddy. Jack is my buddy. Everybody around is so down with Jack.
This is the sign they haven't. If you go that way, it would be to the end. So I have to go this way. I'm just remembering this is the school.
He has this new infatuation with streets. First, we thought it was pretty cool because he was, it was like sight words, like he was learning how to read the street signs. That was really cool. But then it turned into his new fetish, I guess you can say, where he starts to perseverate on the ways to go to like dad's work, the ways to go to school, the ways to go to camp, and like it's cool that he remembers how to go to places, but then it's to the point where if you take a different route, he gets really inflexible. So we're starting to break it and starting to redirect him to better questions like, oh, why are we taking this street, or where are we going, or who's going to be there, who am I going to see? More questions that are more relevant than street names. Are you playing your map still? Here's the deal, listen. You can play on your iPad, but you can't play this game.
We're very confident in the school that we're using this year. We're very happy there's only going to be 14 kids in his class. He's going to have a shadow, brilliant shadow. So I'm excited about the school year.
We already set up goals for him at school. So a lot of them will be, for the most part, will be social goals, but we also have goals such as like him accepting changes in routine, being flexible about things. And for social goals, we have him initiating conversation with peers, and also having him be able to make at least 2 exchanges with the peer, whether it be answering a question or making a similar statement. For instance, like if the kid's like, oh, I like Toy Story, and he could say, oh, I like Toy Story too. Or something else like, oh, I don't like Toy Story, I like, A Bug's Life or something. Something else that is relevant, and he knows how to use these conversation skills that we've been teaching him at home, and trying to generalize it with kids that are his age. So come September, I'm going to be shadowing Jack Riley at school every day for 3 hours a day, instead of doing home therapy.
She's going to try to be noticed as little as possible by the teachers and the students. She's going to help all the kids so as not to stigmatize Jack. Well, the teacher said something very nice in our meeting today, and that is she wants him to have a friend. She wants him to, and he has kids he adores, but I don't know that he has a true friend yet where they engage and play together, and so I'm looking forward to that.
Hi, we're at the Toys R Us in Porter Ranch, California. And Emily and I are going to take a little tour around the store and find some great toys for some great kids.
All right, let's go.
Come with us.
Yes.
Okay, bring your dinosaur and come on. Let's go look at things in the game aisle.
Okay.
I know you love games.
I do look.
All right. So here we are in the game aisle, Emily, and I want to show you that there's all these games that you can get for kids of all ages. They're interactive and really remarkable. One of the hot toys this year and many other years is the Bop It toy.
Okay, so what about the Bop It is so reinforcing?
Well, you know what? It can be interactive. It can be a social game. It makes lots of noises. Sometimes they light up depending on the version. It helps to work on fine motor skills and it helps to work on fluency. This toy will grow with the child, and in fact, you can get it in different versions. This is a little bit more complex version, and up top here we have one that's especially for older kids. It's called the Smash the Light. I would wait until a child is older to play with this one. So should we check out the Lego aisle?
Yes.
Okay, let's do it.
Go. So how can we use Legos to help our kids?
Well, they're really spectacular toys for our kids because they work on executive functions and planning. They're really colorful. You can work on colors and grouping and matching, counting because they have the little dots on the top. And if you have a younger child, you can start with the Duplo toys that are compatible with Lego and they don't have the choking hazard.
So then as the kids get older, what's great about Legos, it looks like, is that there's all sorts of themes. We've got movies here and video games, so the kids can really connect with what's personal to them. So Legos are amazing, but what else do we have to see?
Let's look at some educational toys in the LeapFrog aisle, shall we? Okay.
Okay, so what do you have here?
Well, we're in the LeapFrog aisle. This particular toy, very popular this year, is a Leap Reader. It comes with a little pen, and it tells us that we're going to read, write, and listen, all skills that we want to work on with a child. This pen that's in this box, you can put it over different pages in the book. It will read aloud to the child. They can trace their letters. It reinforces them for doing a great job. It's a really spectacular toy for our younger kids that are working on reading, writing, and listening.
This looks like a lot of fun and a really great way to help our kids learn to read and write.
Absolutely.
What else are we going to play with today?
I think we should take a trip down the functional pretend play aisle. This is where you're going to find all the things that are like real, but the toy version. So I've got this lovely set here that's all fresh vegetables, so I'm teaching nutrition at the same time. They're all appropriately colored, but I've got a knife so I can be cutting them too. This is really great play for a young child.
Shannon, I heard you got some toys that I get to play with now.
Yes, I'm going to take you to the demo table. We're going to let Emily play with some toys, and we're going to be giving some of these toys away on the show. But they're not just any toys. These are toys that are featured in this year's Toys R Us toy guide for differently abled children. And this is put together with the help of our friends at Lecotech.
So what do all these different icons mean?
These are different icons that tell us what skill this toy might help to develop in our children.
So can I play with the toys now?
Yes, it's time to play with the toys, Emily.
So I think I recognize this guy.
Yes, this is the ever popular and very sweet Elmo. But this is a very specific Elmo that teaches adaptive skills like zippering.
Almost yellow triangle zipper.
And so we get the reinforcement of Elmo talking to us when we do these things. There's a let's keep playing. So it encourages the child to continue to interact. And he's very reinforcing. When he giggles, I just want to hug him and play with him some more. Okay, so moving on, let's look at some Melissa and Doug toys. These are incredible toys. They'll last several different generations because they're made out of good quality wood.
Awesome.
And let's start with a lace and trace toy. Now, I happen to know that you love turtles,
Emily. I do love turtles.
And this is a set of farm animals, lace and trace. And the child can pick out a color that they like for a lace.
All right.
And there are lots of different things that they can do with this. And I know it might seem like this is an old-fashioned toy, but you know, sometimes the old-fashioned toys are the best toys. Because what you're doing right now, Emily, is that you're using a lot of hand-eye coordination and you're using the pincer grasp. This is a precursor to writing right here. If you've got a child who's having difficulty holding a pencil, this is a really reinforcing way to work on this. And it comes in lots of different things. And then also for Melissa and Doug, we have this amazing introducing Switch and Spin. Love this so much. This is a great cause and effect toy. As we start to put the gears together, we notice that when you turn one, another one can turn. You can rearrange this and do it in lots of different ways. There are 10 design boards, so you don't have to just do fish. There are other things that you can put there instead.
That's awesome.
Kids love this toy, and it's another Melissa and Doug toy. All right, let's take a look at some fun games.
So I found this game, and it's called Fibber. So Shannon, I'm gonna need you to put on your fibbing glasses.
I want a fib.
All right. So this game is totally reinforcing, and it helps our kids to work on lying.
Yes, and that's something we really, I know it sounds strange, but we want to work on that because being able to tell a lie is something that helps with safety issues. And also being able to tell if somebody else is lying is a really useful life skill.
What you need to do is get rid of your cards without trying to grow your nose, kind of like Pinocchio.
Okay.
But if you get caught...
And so eventually you can have a whole string of noses attached to the end of your nose. Very colorful. Again, we can be working on the colors. Kind of hilarious. A kid's going to want to play this with mom or dad and see that mom is Pinocchio telling lots of lies. I like this game a lot.
This is a great game.
We've had a really great time at Toys R Us, and all of the toys that you see here on the table we're going to be giving away on the show. So stay tuned to find out how you can win one of these great toys. Welcome back to Autism Live and day 2 of our Festival of Toys. I am so thrilled and excited because we have in the studio, I am surrounded right now by Uncle Milton Toys, and our special guest right now is Ken Malouf. He is the Vice President of Marketing and Product Management for Uncle Milton. And Ken, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
I have to be honest with you, I am such a huge fan of Uncle Milton. This is kind of a big event for me because these were toys that we found very early on with our son that made such a tremendous difference in so many different ways.
Yes.
We kind of, like we would stalk you if we could. We love Uncle Milton this much, my family.
Fantastic.
We, usually during the holiday time for a child that you love, there's always, a big toy, and then maybe you get a bunch of little toys. Our big toy almost every year has been an Uncle Milton kind of product because we love you guys so very much. And I'm so excited because you have a bunch of new things, new product lines that you're sharing. We had a question in the last hour that I said, wait till you see what we're showing you next hour, because somebody was asking about how can I make bedtime a more friendly time, getting them in the bedroom and having that be a more friendly time. And I know you guys specialize in this. Absolutely. So I want to do a quick rundown. You've brought 4 different items from 4 different lines. So let's talk briefly about those different things, and then a little later on we'll go into more depth. Okay. So tell us a little bit about what you've brought. What do you want to start with?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, let me just first start by saying Uncle Milton. I mean, the toys, you talked a little bit about Uncle Milton. But
yes, I'd like to know more. Why is it called Uncle Milton?
Exactly. Well, Uncle Milton Levine actually started the company back in 1946. So we've been in the business now for over 65 years. And, we were made famous in the 50s when we created the ant farm. That was our creation.
That was you?
We launched it in the 1950s.
I didn't know.
And yes, we all grew up with Ant Farm, right?
Yes.
So that was kind of what put us on the map. But really, ever since then, our whole mission has been to create toys that really inspire imagination and discovery in kids.
And that is, in fact, what they do. I can tell you firsthand. You do a very good job of that.
Thank you. Thank you. And so we have so many different lines, some of which have learning components to it, like Star Wars Science, like you mentioned. Some of which just really spur kids' imaginations, whether it be in their room, like under our In My Room brand, or whether it be in other parts of their lives, like going outdoors and exploring critters, like with Ant Farm.
Yes, very exciting. And I particularly love that in a lot of the different things that you have, there is an element of science.
Yes.
For a lot of our kids on the autism spectrum, that's an area of interest, and especially the boys, but sometimes the girls are very into this as well. Yep. So toys that, as you said, inspire the imagination, and there's something to be learned as well. Absolutely. So 4 different toy areas that we're going to be talking about today. Do you want to talk about the wall friends first?
Sure.
I have a little buddy here that I'm going to show. I will be honest, I didn't know about this guy until about 6 months ago, but if you talk to anybody that's in a certain age range, and I mean like from 2 to 7, and even my 10-year-old knew exactly who this was. This is Jake, right? From the Neverland Pirates.
Jake and the Neverland Pirates, one of the most popular preschool shows on television right now on Disney Junior.
No kidding, yeah. very popular guy, and so he is from a line called the Wall Friends.
Wall Friends.
And there are lots of different characters that you guys do. Tell us a few of those.
Yes, so we pretty much all the most popular preschool characters. So Doc McStuffins, very popular right now. Of course, Lightning McQueen from the Cars movies. Cinderella, the classic Cinderella, as well as even Mickey and Minnie. So.
You gotta love those. And these are amazing things that you could just put on the wall, and even if it just went on the wall, that would be cute in and of itself and help to decorate the room, but they do other things as well.
That's right.
And a little bit later, we're gonna do a demonstration of this, but we talked before in an earlier segment with Dr. Grandpichet about the moon in my room, and I was saying how powerful it is to have a light up thing in a child's room with a remote control that they control. And this little guy comes with that, and he has some tricks that he does that we're going to show a little bit later on too.
Absolutely.
But you not only have these kinds of things, but for the kids that are a little bit older, we've got this lovely display. Tell us what's going on back here.
Well, this is what we call wild walls. So basically, it allows kids to create a scene in their room, and this is wall decals that they place, create any which way they want to, and then they activate that scene with light and sound. It's basically like a show come to life on your wall.
Really, really, truly exciting. And this comes in lots of different styles as well, so that it can be tailored to, what the child particularly likes. I know I saw a video on YouTube the other day about this, that there was a little girl who loves lions. And so Daddy had gotten her, you have a safari one. So we're going to demo that in just a little while too. And then you've got two other things here on the desk that are very fascinating to me that are, again, we're starting with probably from the youngest to a little bit older, and then you got some things here that are for even the older kids.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about what this is back here.
So this item here is called Fireworks Grand Finale. It's part of our Fireworks Light Show brand, and that brand is all about kids being able to create their own firework light and sound shows. And this is basically firework cones that light up with a remote control button where you can program your own show.
I was making fun earlier because the toy you're going to show in a second, my husband is going to want, but I want this. I love fireworks, and this is right up my alley, but I can imagine kids having a great time with this. But let's show what my husband is going to want, and my son is absolutely going to want directly. And this is a new line. I mentioned before, we were big fans of Star Wars science, and you have a new area of science that's going to grab everybody's attention.
Absolutely.
It's Marvel science. Oh, did you just hear all the ears perk up?
Well, the Marvel characters are everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Fantastic movies coming out, and much like we do with our Star Wars science line, we thought, let's take the science of superheroes and bring that into a toy line. Because as we all know, a lot of these superheroes, they're scientists themselves, guys like Tony Stark, they're inventors. So how can we use that as a foundation for inspiring kids to learn about science, and then bringing toys that actually help them to learn about different things?
Really incredible. And we're going to show you a little bit later what this toy does. It's going to blow your doors off. So all of this is really exciting, but we want to talk a little bit more, and we thank you so much for bringing this. I do need to mention that we're going to be giving away one of each one of these toys, and in this hour we're going to start with the Wall Friends that we're going to be giving Jake away. So make sure that you are watching at some point during this hour. There will be a word that appears on the screen. If you want to win Jake, you will write down in your subject line Jake Wall Friend, and then you'll put the word in the word of the phrase, I never get to know what it is, in the body of your email, and send that off to us. And you have until 7 o'clock tomorrow morning Pacific time. A winner will be chosen at random to win Jake. And then in the coming days, there will be opportunities to win all of these other products as well. We are going to take a short break and show you an informational video about these Wall Friends and why these are so great for making bedtime a pleasurable experience. So take a look.
In My Room presents Wall Friends. Now you can interact with Jake the Pirate right in your own room. Just touch the remote and watch.
Ahoy, matey!
As Jake lights up and talks to you. Talk to him too. Then push the button to hear his next fun phrase. Hear a different familiar phrase each time you push the remote.
Remember, we're a team, and we can do anything if we do it together.
It's like having your friend Jake right there in your room. It's also a great nightlight with high and low brightness and auto shut-off for bedtime. Available in many different Wall Friends characters. Bring your favorite character to life with Wall Friends from Uncle Milton.
Imagine, discover, inspire. Boy, that really is the ticket here. We're here with Ken Malouf, and he is from Uncle Milton Toys. He's the VP of Marketing and Product Management. So thrilled to have you here showing these great toys. I am a huge fan. I kind of stalked them and said, you have to be a part of the Festival of Toys, because I, as a parent, have been a huge fan. And I didn't realize as a child I had an ant farm too. I didn't know that was you guys. But anyway, you just saw a video about these wall friends, and you could see the different, and of course we're in a very bright studio here, so you're not going to see it light up very much. But Ken, you've got the remote over there. I do. And the remotes are all they're kind of in the theme of whatever the friend is. Yep. You very easily can mount this on the wall, give the remote to the child. They want to go to bed. They're thrilled to go in and have a conversation with their wall friend. It's a great way of getting the child in the bedroom. Yep. And so then what happens, Ken? Talk us through.
Well, so then what happens, and to your point, it's something the kids now look forward to. They want to go to bedtime. We see that with a lot of our remote-controlled in-room items. Mm-hmm. So there's this remote control. It's perfectly sized for a preschool hand, so it's nice and it works very easily. You come into the room, and of course kids are so excited to see Jake. They love Jake, right?
Yeah, they do.
And then they come in and they push that button, and all of a sudden,
ahoy, matey!
Did you hear him? I loved that. And he lit up as he was saying it. Very, very clever.
Exactly. So Jake talks to you. So he says phrases like, ahoy, matey, or...
Time to say the pirate password! Yo, ho, ho!
I love it.
And you know, we designed this in a way so that even the phrases are very dialogue-esque. I mean, it really encourages kids to talk to Jake. You know, when kids of this age watch their favorite preschool shows, they're talking to the TV. They're socially interacting with the TV, much like those characters are there with them.
And the shows are really designed to do that now. And if your child is not getting into those shows on that, you know, the Disney Junior kinds of things, this is a great way to pair that together. And I can tell you, having recently been around a bunch of kids in my family that were this age, I honestly didn't know about Jake, and the show came on and it was mayhem, and then everybody was talking about Jake for at least an hour, the different things. So we're always trying to get our kids prepared socially for what other kids are talking about. This is what other kids are talking about. Absolutely. And it gives you that light in the room, and the power of the remote in their hands. We know that kids have anxiety when they go in their own room, but when I saw this with the moon in my room with my son, when he knew that he could turn the light on and that he wasn't alone, it made it okay.
Absolutely.
It's a powerful, powerful toy. Now, where can they get this, Ken?
Well, you can actually find it at Toys R Us in stores, as well as toysrus.com. You can also find it at Amazon, as well as a number of specialty retailers, other mid-tier like Kohl's and various places. So it's pretty broadly found out there right now, and all 6 varieties that we talked about.
Okay. And about how much does it retail for?
It's about $24.99, depending on the retailer. So it's a nice giftable item, but it's also one, you know, that you'll find the child will use every single night. And
absolutely. I mean, it's completely a great product. So worth that. I will also tell you too that I know that there are a couple places, one place in particular that I'm thinking of that has this on sale for Black Friday. Mm-hmm. So if you're looking to, but we're giving this one away. So but absolutely well worth. If it were $40, it would be worth the peace of mind of getting them into the bedroom. So great price point. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit more about the wild walls, because they are wild. And again, you had mentioned that these decals, they can put them on the wall in any configuration, so the child can choose, and they come off easily.
That's
and
right.
They're repositionable.
That's correct.
Amazing.
That's correct. So it really encourages the child. I mean, while we give some suggested ways they can create the scene, we really encourage the child to create the scene any which way they want to. So they can change it up. So this week I want to do it this way. Next week I want to move this fish over here, or whatever it might be. They can constantly change their scene in their room and to different parts of their room as well.
Maybe we should look at the video of the wild walls so that you guys can see, because we're in this bright room. You're going to want to see what it kind of looks like in a darker room. So take a look. This is Wild Walls.
In My Room presents Wild Walls. Bring your room to life with an awesome light and sound experience featuring amazing animals and their environments. First, Decorate and create your scene. Just peel and stick the colorful decals onto your wall. Customize and change your scene anytime with the easy-to-remove decals. Then, activate the scene. Just attach the Wallscape FX activator to your wall and push the button. Now, watch the amazing light and sound Wallscape come to life, shining light over 20 square feet onto your walls and ceiling. See water wave light effects, just like being underwater, as they fade in and out. Hear real undersea animal sound effects as they synchronize with the light to bring your scene to life. Try 3 different modes from full light and sound effects to light only. It even has auto shut-off for nighttime. Available in different animal varieties, including Safari Adventure, Shark Encounter, and Dinosaur Expedition. Also available featuring your favorite characters and their adventures. Bring your walls to life with Wild Walls from Uncle Milton.
Really remarkable product, Wild Walls. I was saying to Ken, they look 3D when they're lit up. It really is quite an impact on the room. And I love the different sounds, you were saying during the break that the Little Mermaid one plays actual tunes.
It does, from the Under the Sea song.
Oh, that's remarkable. And can we play the sounds on this one in here? Will it pick up with our mics?
Yeah, this is on our Try Me mode, but you push the button.
And you guys may not be able to see from here, but it's glowing, and see, that would be very soothing to me, the water sounds and the whale sounds. What I love about it is that different kids have different areas of interest. So you can really address that with an individual child, help to make the room truly theirs and a welcoming space to go into. And again, they can click the wall. And I saw, I was, trolling around online looking at the ways that some of the different parents did this. And some of them put it across the room. And some of them put maybe one sticker across the room and just a few of the other stickers around. Some of them put it right by the bed so that the child could push the button. You really can customize it to what works better for the family.
Absolutely.
I think this is remarkable. And we can get this in Toys R Us as well?
Same thing, Toys R Us, Amazon, Kohl's, all the different retailers we talked about, in all the different varieties.
Really great gift. And how much for this one?
This one is $24.99. So again, similar price point.
Great. And if you've tried to do any kind of decorating with wall decals that don't have sounds and lights, it's more than that. So this is a great value.
Yeah. Creates a nice kind of showcase for the bedroom. And if kids love the theme of underwater or safari or whatever thematic, or Spider-Man or whatnot, it really creates a nice centerpiece to that room. But it's also something they're going to enjoy, like we said, every night. They're going to go and press that button and see it come to life.
And again, repositionable, so you're not ruining your walls putting these things on. If you're renting and you're concerned about that, you can put them on, take them off. It doesn't do any harm to the walls.
And the nice thing with a lot of our In My Room products is we have a lot of functionality too. So like in this version, you can have a full light and sound show. You can press the button and just have the soothing underwater sounds.
Oh, great.
And you press the button again and it's just the light.
Okay.
So you can customize the experience how you want it to be, and whatever's best for your bedtime routine.
Great, because a lot of our kids have different sensory issues, so great. Good to know that you can customize that. Now, I want to move into the Marvel Science a little bit, and you tell us which toy this is.
So this is the Repulsor Ray Tech Lab, and it's based on Iron Man, of course.
Okay.
Iron Man, of course, as we know, has an arc reactor that powers his suit. And this is his repulsor ray, the repulsor ray that comes out of his hand.
Okay.
And it basically brings to life a superhero power using airflow.
All right.
And so this is what we call the energy sphere. And it's kind of like superhero training. I'm like Iron Man. I'm trying to control this energy sphere. So by suspending it magically in midair, and you may not be able to see this at home, but there's actually a light here as well.
It is, it's glowing.
So if you do this in the dark, it's even more impressive. But then you can literally take this and run it through all different kinds of obstacles. So in this case, this is one of the easier ones. I can do one of the harder ones, and so on and so forth. But what's neat about this is kids, besides the magic of science, like how did that happen? How is it that this ball is magically suspended in the air? They can also create their own obstacle courses. So you can create these targets, literally anywhere along their room or whatnot, and have literally an obstacle course that you can do by yourself or with your friends, and really kind of do what we call superhero training.
I gotta say, this is a play date in the making right here. If you have a child that is at all into Marvel and invites other children over, they're gonna wanna play with this. But this isn't the only one of the Marvel Science toys, so we're gonna run just a short clip here about some of the other Marvel Science. Take a look.
From Marvel Science comes the Iron Man Repulsor Ray Tech Lab. Master the powerful force from Iron Man's Repulsor Ray. Powered by his arc reactor, Iron Man's Repulsor Ray has an energy force that can move objects in mid-air. Practice mastering this force by balancing and controlling the energy sphere, both in tabletop and handheld mode. Then, try moving the energy sphere through challenging obstacles. Now, create and master your own training course and compete with your friends. For even more fun, try it in the dark, or create your own launching tubes. You can also learn more about Iron Man's Repulsor Ray technology and air power forces on Earth. Discover the science of superheroes with the Iron Man Repulsor Ray Tech Lab from Uncle Milton.
So clever. And Ken and I were just talking about that this also will work on fine motor skills. It works on concentration, about planning. And you were saying that the kids, when you were filming this, they could not put it down. And I can see that. I'm itching to play with it. And that you can customize it in different ways. And think about the hand-eye coordination of trying to get it to go through the different hoops and having a group of kids deciding, you know, the planning of how are we going to set up the obstacle course to try to stump each other. This is an awesome toy. It's not the only Marvel Science toy, and I encourage you guys to take a look at what some of the other Marvel Science toys are. Matt Asner was on the show yesterday, and he was talking about his favorite toy ever was where he used to make these creatures, and you have one where they can make spider webs that do different things.
That's right, the Web Creator Lab.
Yeah, and it's pretty awesome. And I said, oh, Matt, you need to, because he has 2 boys, you need to look at the Web Creator Lab. But we're running out of time, and I have to leave time to talk about my favorite toy right here. Tell us about this wonderful grand finale.
So fireworks grand finale. So everybody knows the grand finale. That's what everybody looks forward to in the fireworks show.
Live for it.
So now we actually give kids the power to create their own grand finale show. So it comes with this remote control. And on this remote control, I can, anytime I touch buttons 1 through 5, I'm going to launch certain firework cones. And you can't see it here in the studio, but it basically cascades a light up the wall of firework lights and sounds.
Cool.
And not only that, but I can change the color as the cone is launching, and then I can program my own show. So if I go into program mode, I can create a grand finale show up to 150 different launches. Literally, I can get my friends and family come around and look at the grand finale show that I just created.
It's really remarkable, and I really think we have to run video of it so that you can see what it looks like in a darkened room. So Emily, let's take a look at what the grand finale looks like.
Fireworks Light Show presents the Grand Finale Light Show. Now, you can create your own spectacular Grand Finale fireworks show with bursting light and booming fireworks sounds. Just set up the colorful firework cones, Supersonic Komodo, Pyro Monkey Mayhem, and the big guy, Patriotic Thunder. Then launch firework cones at the touch of a button. Launch them individually, in groups, or all at the same time, creating hundreds of launch and color combinations. You can even change the firework colors as they are launching. Then program and launch your own full grand finale show with up to 150 launch combinations per show. Now, get the crowd ready, turn on some music, and let the grand finale show begin. Light up the night with Fireworks Grand Finale from Uncle Milton.
Super cool toy for any kids who love fireworks. This is going to be an awesome, and I gotta say, a lot of our kids on the autism spectrum, that if they're into lights and light shows, and a lot of our kids are, this is a really cool thing for them to have in their room, and a great social toy too, because everybody's going to want to play with it and set up their thing to do whatever. You'll find that your kids will be very creative about how they want to use it and how it works for them, and it lends itself to that they can be creative and design it how they want it. And again, they can get this at Toys R Us.
Absolutely.
Price point on this one?
This one's $29.99.
Love it.
For the entire set. Great gift item.
What do you want to bet there's going to be one under the tree for me, because my husband will be like, oh goodness, this is the perfect toy for Shannon. I love fireworks. Ken, I just want to thank you for all, and please tell everybody back at Uncle Milton Toys how much they have meant in my son's progress, and how much joy they've given us and our family. I'm going to get emotional here, but truly been so helpful to us in lots of different areas, getting that bedtime together, being, the social toy that other kids want to come and play with him, and having him be able to cut his teeth on some science stuff. It's really been remarkable.
Yeah, that's great. We're so happy to hear that. And, again, it's not just about bringing toys to market, it's about inspiring discovery and imagination. And if we can do that with kids and your son as well, that's what it's all about.
You truly have with our family. So I'm so glad that you're here. And again, throughout the next couple of weeks, we're going to be giving away each and every one of these toys. But the toy during this hour is the wall friend Jake. So make sure that you're watching for that phrase. We have to say goodbye to Ken, but we thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to be joined by LeapFrog and talk about a bunch of toys that are educational, and a lot of them we're going to be talking about the little bit younger kids than what we've just been talking about. So stick with us for LeapFrog.
You say howdy, we say hi. Let's get rowdy, let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild.
Hi, it's Lisa Ackerman back for What's Left. I got a nice guest with me today.
Hi, I'm Kristen.
We're going to make some healthy banana nut bread with no eggs. Maybe what you could do, Kristen, I'm going to add the flour.
Okay.
If you can get the bananas ready just by mashing them for me. So I'm going to go ahead and add our flour. Here's 1 cup of my all-purpose flour. I'm going to go ahead and add my baking soda and my salt and my xanthan gum. A ½ teaspoon of the salt, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and xanthan gum. Xanthan gum is great, but you can also use gar gum. We can use flaxseed meal if we want to use a different binder. Remember, this is what helps keep your gluten-free flour held together. We're going to also add 1 cup of our organic cane sugar. There's a lot of variations on this as well. I can use maple syrup and honey and cook with it. That's a great way to go, but be careful, you may need to add some more flour into the mix. How are you doing, Monkey?
I think
Perfect.
I can now say I officially mashed bananas.
You mashed the monkey bananas. So I'll go ahead and take your mashed monkey banana. Thank you very much. All we did, Kristen, lovely Vanna White, is mash up the bananas, getting ready to go for our dessert. So let's go ahead and add egg replacers. We've gotten a lot of feedback from y'all about not using eggs, and I know eggs are a big issue. So we talked about this. We're going to use a little flaxseed meal and arrowroot starch, and I love these, but whenever we use a dry ingredient, and an egg has a lot more moisture than these.
Yeah.
So we want to be a little kind and maybe add a little water or more fruit or, a coconut milk or something along those lines. So for this recipe, it calls for 2 eggs. So I'm actually going to use 1 teaspoon of each of these. Look at me using measuring devices. And add that into my mix, and that will be in place of any eggs that you would want in that recipe. Next up is the cinnamon and the nutmeg. This gives it the yum. Now, for kids who are really sensitive to different spices, you may want to go a little lighter on these. So for nutmeg, this calls for 1/8 of a teaspoon, so you really want to go light on the nutmeg. In fact, that's one you could probably cut back a little bit for kids who are really sensitive to smell or taste. And cinnamon, I love cinnamon. Did you know cinnamon has some antibacterial properties?
Yeah.
I love this stuff. So anytime I can add cinnamon to whatever, if your kid tolerates it, it's a great antibacterial. So I love that stuff. If you have a nut allergy, forget the nuts. But these are the chopped walnuts per the recipe. This is a ½ cup of chopped walnuts, and I've got my lemon zest. And again, I love lemon zest. My son has grown to love it as I cook for him more often. And then the last thing that we're going to add here in our recipe is the ½ cup of oil. Thanks, Vanna White.
You're welcome.
And we'll go ahead. I use grapeseed. You can also use the different Earth Balance soy-free margarine melted.
okay.
That would be great. That gives a good texture. Awesome. Our mix is ready to go, Kristen. I'm going to put a little oil on the pan. And I love the consistency. Like you were saying, this looks a little bit like a thick pancake mix. Are you ready?
I think so. I just want to make sure I'm not the one that doesn't make it come out.
So again, it is a bit of a thicker texture. I'm going to go ahead and grab as much as I can out of my little mixing pan here. So let's go ahead and put this in the oven, 350 degrees for about 40 to 50 minutes, depending upon your oven and how long you want it to cook.
Ooh.
And this is what the finished product looks like. Yum!
Looks
so
yummy.
For me, this is probably one of the most nutritious, fun things that I can eat. I'm going to have you try some so you can tell me what you think.
I'll be happy to be the guinea pig.
Such
Ooh,
a
it
great
smells
texture.
so good.
So there you go.
Yummy.
I know. But go ahead and give it a shot and tell me what you think.
Let me see. That was really good.
Yeah.
It's
give me
moist
some of
too.
that. Thank you for joining us here at Autism Live. We've got a great, wonderful snack or breakfast that we can serve up for our kids. That's healthy, ready to go. Kristen, thanks for joining me
Thank
this
you for
time.
having me.
Love
That was
having you
fun.
here. And we'll see you next time at Autism Live. What's left? If you have any questions, you can email us at autismlive@gmail.com or hit us up on Facebook, facebook.com/autismlive. And if you need more recipes while we're in between shows, go off to the TACA website, tacanow.org. Click on gluten-free, casein-free, soy-free recipes and have a ball. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.
You say howdy, we say hi. Let's get rowdy, let's get wild. Let's get wild.
Welcome back to Autism Live. This is day 2 of the Festival of Toys, and I am so thrilled that in this half hour we're talking to Dr. Jody Sherman Levos, and she is here from LeapFrog with us. So excited to have her here. And shall I call you Dr. Levos, Dr. Sherman Levos, Dr. Jody? how would you like to be addressed?
You can call me Jody.
Okay, Jody, thank you so much for being here. You are from LeapFrog, and you work with, and I can't find it here anywhere, but it's with the learning team, correct?
That is correct.
Term? Okay. And tell us, first of all, because LeapFrog has been honestly at the forefront of pairing technology and education and entertainment together for so long. The things that you guys do are amazing. No one can touch you guys in the field. But tell us a little bit about what you do for LeapFrog and how this learning team helps to develop these amazing toys.
Yeah, thank you for having me. My team is a full-time in-house team of learning experts, which is really something unique in this field. Not many companies have, dedicated resources that are in the trenches every day to develop the products, and that's what we do. We work with the producers and the game designers and the industrial designers to make sure that every product we create meets the learning objectives. And our goal here at LeapFrog, everyone's goal, really is to create the best, most compelling educational experiences possible.
Well, I just think you guys do an amazing job for all kids, but I have to say for kids on the autism spectrum, you guys are phenomenal at bridging that gap between making learning fun and making toys fun, which is so essential because a lot of kids on the autism spectrum, they don't know how to play and they don't find it reinforcing, and you put a LeapFrog toy in their hands and not only are they instantly having fun, but they're learning too. So I gotta say, amazing work that you guys do. It shows up in the work that you guys do. So you've sent in the studio for us to demo some amazing toys that are here. There are 3 different things that are here, and why don't we take just a couple of seconds to talk about each one, and I'll hold them up as you talk about them. So
Great, thank you. Yeah, so the LeapPad Ultra is our newest tablet. It is specifically designed for children, which means it is kid tough and it's very durable. And in terms of the hardware and the software, it really is all about children, even kids that can't read yet. So parents can feel confident that all of the games, the music, videos, everything that they can load onto the Ultra is going to be safe. It's going to be age and developmentally appropriate for all children. And it's going to be fun and engaging, which, as you mentioned, is absolutely essential. So that's the first thing. The second thing we sent in is Read With Me Scout. This is an adorable toy that comes with 5 board books. And what the child can do is pick the book that they want to read, and then they actually touch the corresponding color on Scout's collar, and Scout will actually read the story to him or her and ask over 70 different comprehension questions to really get kids engaged in the reading process. It's a very interactive toy, and it really is designed to help kids and families in a number of ways. The first being early literacy skills, the second being a lot of pro-social behavior. So you can touch Scout and he'll tell you that you're his best friend, for example, and also a comforting friend to help fall asleep with. And then the third thing we sent in is the Letter Factory Phonics, which is a bucket full of tiles, and those tiles help children learn letter names and letter sounds and hear the ABC song in a really fun form factor. Kids can play the perennial favorite of putting in and taking out, putting the lid on, taking it off, and again, learning those really important early literacy skills.
All 3 of these toys are amazing and would be a great gift for any kid. But I have to say, in a second, we're going to talk with Jody about how these toys specifically are amazing for kids on the autism spectrum, because they're so versatile and they're so reinforcing, and they're truly remarkable. And it's all based, as she was saying, on a great deal of thought and research and information about what will help kids to learn. So remarkable, remarkable toys. We're going to take a break, and we're going to come back and start to really talk in depth about this baby right here, the LeapPad Ultra. And I loved what you were saying about how this is a great, durable, perfect, designed perfectly for kids tablet. If you guys are looking for a tablet this year for a child, this is an awesome, awesome way to start, because above everything else, it's safe. And you're going to be amazed at some of the things you can do with this. So we're going to take a short break, and we are going to be back with Dr. Jody Sherman Levos from LeapFrog. Stick with us.
Skills is an online program that provides assessment, curriculum, positive behavior support planning for challenging behavior, and progress tracking, and it does this all in one place. The Skills assessment and curriculum addresses 8 areas of development, which even includes advanced higher level areas such as executive functions and cognition, which pretty much makes Skills the only ABA-based set of curricula for teaching more complex skills, things like problem solving, planning, self-management, perspective taking, and even inferring and predicting others' private events. Skills is a 4-step system. Step 1 is to add the child to your account. Step 2 is to start assessment. The Skills assessment is the only ABA-based assessment with psychometric research demonstrating the language subscale to have excellent reliability. Every area of human functioning and typical child development from infancy to adolescence was researched, making the Skills assessment the most comprehensive of its kind in the world, and we're quite proud of that.
Skills is easy to use. Simply click Start Assessment and begin answering questions. Or simply type in a keyword, find specific activities to assess, and add activities to treatment. Step 3. Choose activities. Once you've completed the assessment, Skills selects from a pool of 4,000 activities categorized by age, level, and skill type to provide you with exactly those activities each child needs. Start by choosing a curriculum, then a lesson, and finally an activity. Click the information icon to view prerequisites, ages in which targets develop, examples, and IEP goals. Click the video icon to watch a short video. Once you've identified an activity you want to teach, adding activities to treatment is a snap. Step 4. Start treatment. Here you can access customizable activity lesson details, add your own customized targets and exemplars, and edit an activity status such as introducing or mastering it. You can even print handouts such as worksheets, tracking forms, visual aids, and other materials. Skills also offers multiple progress charts mapping curriculum progress, lesson progress, and cumulative number of activities and targets mastered over time. The Skills language curriculum is categorized by verbal behavior type so that users can identify progress for verbal operants, such as echoics, mans, tax, and interverbals.
Skills is one of the only programs that provides the ability to write behavior intervention plans, or BIPs, for challenging behavior.
With just a few clicks, the outline of the behavior intervention plan is written for you and ready to be printed and implemented.
You can learn more about Skills today and get started by visiting us at www.skillsforautism.com, or you can call us at 877-975-4559. Skills. Progress starts here.
Welcome back to Autism Live. This is day 2 of the Festival of Toys, and we are talking with Dr. Jody Sherman Levos from LeapFrog, a really amazing company. I was just saying during the break that when I have to give a toy to somebody else's child, there are 2 toys that I generally pick first, and they're both LeapFrog, and we're going to talk about those in a minute. But I am holding this amazing tablet in my hands, and Dr. Jody, Dr. Levos, you have so many names. Jody, tell us a little bit about this tablet and why this is an awesome tablet to start for a child.
You know, the LeapPad Ultra is designed to be kid tough. It's going to withstand the bumps. It is designed for little hands. It's designed so that kids can intuitively use it. So the buttons are intuitive and consistent. The screen is sensitive and bright. And beyond the hardware, the user experience and the content are all designed for kids. This is not a family tablet. This is not an adult tablet that can be modified for kids. This is a kid's tablet. So when a child turns it on, they're going to see their picture and recognize their name, and they can select their profile setting. And from that, the experience is entirely their own, which is really exciting for young kids. It gives them that sense of empowerment and ownership, that this is something that is purely theirs. As I mentioned, the software, that's really where I think our fun and our learning come to life. So we have a lot of design features built into our content that allow children to have a personalized learning experience. So for example, because children select their profile when they turn on the Ultra, the games are going to start at the right place for them. So it's going to remember their progress across play sessions, and it's also going to start new games at the right place for them based on their age and their grade. We also have features in many of our games that allow the curriculum to automatically level up when kids are doing well in their learning, or automatically level down if they're struggling and maybe they need a little bit more support. So the content really grows with kids, and it adapts to their own unique learning needs.
Absolutely remarkable. And so we talked about games, and games are so reinforcing for kids. Great way to learn. We know that all the research is coming back saying that this is an awesome way that kids enjoy learning, and they'll do it for longer periods of time because of that. What kinds of games can they play on this LeapPad Ultra?
Well, first of all, they can play a lot. So we've developed a lot of content, again, designed specifically for kids to learn and have fun at the same time. And we have our own app center available at LeapFrog.com. By the end of this year, we'll have over 800 pieces of content. So LeapFrog develops their own content, and we also now distribute the best in other people's content. So we have music, we have videos, and we have games now that have been developed using kids' favorite characters, favorite play patterns. But what's really important to note about LeapFrog is that everything within that app center has been either designed by or approved by learning experts. So someone on my team has either designed the game with producers and game designers, or actually reviewed and played and watched every piece of third-party content to ensure that it's safe and is age-appropriate and is educational. So it's a really great offering for parents. Specifically, we cover, really core subjects, so literacy, mathematics, certainly, but we also go beyond those core subjects. We cover things like creativity and music and life skills. So a lot of options for parents. They can shop by the curricular domain that they want their child to target. They can shop by their child's age. They can shop by their child's favorite character. So there really is something for everyone. And parents with children on the spectrum might be interested to note that we have games that are specifically designed to teach things like pro-social behaviors and routines, so daily routines. For example, our Get Ready for Kindergarten Stretchy Monkey game is all about how to get the monkey ready in the morning. What do you need to get ready and go about your day? We also have games now that incorporate social play. So with the Ultra, because it is a Wi-Fi tablet, kids can actually now play with other kids in the same room. So you can race against your friend with our kart racing game, which is a math game, and the curriculum is going to be tailored to each player individually. But when they go into the racing mode, then they can actually race each other. They can also send messages back and forth to each other. These are all safe and pre-selected. They can be written messages, or they can be emoticons or icons. So again, a great experience for kids who need some practice or want to engage in turn-taking and some social play between 2 or more tablets.
Really remarkable. And we have to say again how safe this is, that there's only safe web browsing on this, and it's absolutely it's so tough. I mean, it's incredibly lightweight, but it's so tough that you guys guarantee it to be kid-proof for at least a year, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And I have 2 kids in my home of my own, 2 young boys, so I know that accidents happen. My son loves to drag his LeapPad all over the house. He drops it. And what's amazing to me is not that he drops it, but that he picks it up fully expecting it to work again, and it does. So I'm always so glad it's his tablet. It's a LeapFrog tablet. It's not mine. But yeah, LeapFrog.com. If you order a tablet through LeapFrog.com, we offer a 1-year warranty as well as a 1-year free accident insurance. So, we understand kids can play tough, and we really believe in the durability of our products.
Remarkable. And I love the fact that the stylus is attached to it, the hallmark of a great LeapFrog product. And so they can get this at LeapFrog.com, and I imagine that this is in different retailers as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, great. And so we're pressed for time here. So because we unpacked little Violet, but we have a Scout to give away too. But let's talk a little bit about Violet and Scout here.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, adorable toys designed to be, squishy and lovey, but they have interactive touch points throughout their body, and that's the way that kids can actually interact with Scout or Violet as they're reading the books. So we really designed this toy around research showing that kids learn to read best when they're part of the reading process, when they're asked to make predictions about what happens next or relate the stories to something that happens in their own life. And so Scout or Violet will read the story to your child, but will ask your child questions, and your child will actually answer by touching different parts on Scout and Violet's body. So it's a very interactive process, which again we know supports early reading skills.
And there are different, I'm squeezing her so she's having different reactions here. And there are different things that you can do, like you can kiss Violet and Scout. But one of the things that I love the most about this is that there is a mode for when it's sleep time that you can put it on sleep time, and they can hug the animal, and it stops reacting to if you're pressing the pause and things, so that it's not going to go off just as you've gotten your child to sleep. Absolutely
that's
amazing.
Critical. I mean, the last thing you want is your child to be, woken up because they accidentally touched the paw. So some good design features built in, really making that bonding, that parasocial relationship happen between your child and this animal that they can identify with and play with during the day and cuddle up with at night.
And really, we were talking in the last hour with Dr. Grandpichet about teaching reading comprehension, and the fact that you see here that there's the 5 different numbers. They come with 5 books, and each book has that number, and so this is book number 2, and if I push number 2, the dog would begin to read the book, and as you said, ask a question once it's read the page. This is such a smart toy. And so how much and Scout is green and Violet is purple. And how much do they go for in the store?
They're regularly priced at $34.99. I noticed a sale on LeapFrog.com yesterday. It was $29.99, so I think great value.
Great time to pick one of these up. This is a toy that a child would love, and not only are you getting that stuffed animal, but that's gonna, and it plays songs at night, but the reading comprehension component. I want to make sure that we have time though to talk about the Letter Factory here, because this is one of the toys that I get whenever I have to get a toy for a child. It comes in lots of different ways. Some of them are magnets, and they lots of different incarnations of this, but this is a brilliant toy. So talk to us a little bit about this, Dr. Levos.
Yeah, the Letter Factory Phonics is classic for LeapFrog. It's very recognizable. As you mentioned, it has come in many different iterations over the years. Currently, it's sold in a bucket, which I think is brilliant. It is fun on the go, and you still get that familiar learning of the letter names and the letter sounds and the alphabet song, but now in a new play pattern where kids can take in and pull it out, put the lid on and off. They can practice cleaning up once they're done playing, which is great. And you can play with this toy in so many different ways. You can sort by color. You can practice fair sharing the tiles. You can practice, finding objects that start with that letter sound. So there's really so many ways to play with this toy.
And there's colors and there's numbers. And what I will be honest with you, what we did was we bought 2 sets and then we worked on matching with everything too in our autism program. This is essential. I've said it before that without the toy that we had that was like this and his Letter Factory DVD, my son wouldn't have learned his letters. So this is a remarkable toy. Every child on the autism spectrum should have some version of this toy. You can never go wrong giving this toy. We are really out of time, but again, I want you to tell the viewers where they can find out more information about LeapFrog toys and where they can buy them.
Yeah, thank you so much. I would encourage everyone to go to LeapFrog.com, and you can find our app center there. You can learn all about our toys.
They're really, really remarkable. As I said, you could never go wrong getting one of these toys. Each one of these toys we have to give away. In fact, in this hour, we are giving away this LeapPad Ultra, and then in the coming weeks, we're going to give away the Phonics and a Violet and a Scout. So stay tuned but somebody needs to win this fabulous, fabulous tablet. Thank you so much for coming and being with us today, and tell everyone at LeapFrog how appreciative we are of all the work that you guys do.
Thank you for having me.
Such a joy. We are way out of time here, so I'm going to say goodbye to you guys, but tomorrow we have some exciting guests that are going to be with us. Lecotech Toys is going to be showing learning resources toys. Fat Brain Toys is going to be with us, and it's going to be an amazing, amazing show, so you won't want to miss that. Until then, please give your kiddos a hug from me. Bye-bye for now.